Hello everybody, I am Gratiela Baias and I am very happy to have today here Lucas Derks. Lucas is famous in the world of NLP worldwide for his creation Social Panorama, and he's also the founder of the International Laboratory for Mental Space Research and the Society of Mental Space Psychology. He's a trainer for more than 30 years in NLP. He's one of the developers of this technology, and he's also author of many books known everywhere. Besides his passion for understanding how the brain works, he's also a visual artist and a guitarist. He's writing novels, and he's a wonderful man. So, welcome here, Lucas.
Thank you for having me, inviting me.
Yeah, and thank you also for coming for the first time in Romania in order to train the first generation of social panorama consultants here in Romania. We just completed the training yesterday.
Yeah, we had a wonderful time, so it was very nice.
For sure it was, for us was extraordinary, and we are very grateful that we had this opportunity, that you offered us this opportunity.
Well,
we know that you are very busy traveling all over the world, and this is so nice.
Yeah, but you gave me the opportunity to come to Romania.
So it's a win-win situation.
So I enjoyed it a lot.
So I would like to ask you at the beginning, what drives you to do this work?
Well, I was a visual artist, as you said, but I had always a passion for psychology and science in general. And I called myself an amateur psychologist, I think when I was 18 or so. And then I met people who were psychologists over mountaineering, so I met several of them. And I became interested, and then at a certain moment, I think when I was 25 or so, I thought maybe I can switch from art to psychology, because it will give me a better life, but also I had such a strong fascination. And then I found out that many people in psychology, they had the idea that psychology was too theoretical, and so that psychologists could not do much with their knowledge, with their science. And so I thought, there's a challenge for me, and maybe I can be the one who makes it more practical. And of course it was a little bit grandiosity, but that was in fact driving me. And then along this line I found the work of Ben and Grinder, among many other things, especially things from hypnotherapy, in 1977. And I thought, well, this is one piece that may help to create a more practical psychology for the future. And and I was quite committed to that. Also because I gave up my life as an artist, and then I really wanted to be a good psychologist, so I didn't want to do a little bit, I wanted to go for real.
You wanted excellency.
I wanted to really go for it. So.
And I know that you were fascinated by the structure of magic when you started on this journey, and I wonder, which is the structure of magic in Social Panorama?
Yeah, one could talk about that days on end, because basically you can say that most people don't understand the importance of space in the working of the mind. And it took me also years to come to this conclusion, and many other scientists also came to this conclusion, but recently, in the last 20 years, that space is the main organizing principle in the mind. And when you don't understand it, and you see the effect of spatial interventions, and then spatial social interventions, so when you start to move social images in space, And then a lot happens, so it could immediately change the emotions that a person sends towards somebody, so from anger towards neutrality in just an instance. And you cannot understand it when you don't understand the importance of space. And then you think, this is magic. So you may believe that by brain waves you influence somebody or whatever, and that happens a lot. So that the magic comes, what I say magic is technology that you do not understand. So technology, well, you could say it like this: when you are effective and you don't understand, it's magic. And when you are effective and you understand it, it's technology. So then you know what you're doing. And in the area of change where you use space, for a lot of people it's effective, but they don't understand, and so it becomes magic.
Yeah. And regarding this, what about spirituality, science, and social panorama?
Yeah, so
it's
well,
kind of
the link between spirituality and the social panorama, can be seen on more levels. The most important part, I think, is what in the social panorama we look at the concepts that represent people for us. So we have in our mind concepts and we think these are people, these represent people. Now this extends beyond living people, and it also applies to spirits, ghosts and gods and the dead. And so when you see how people are occupied with spirits or with God or with diseased people, you could say, well, this is also the area of the social panorama. And I call it the spiritual panorama when it's not dealing with the representations of living people. So this is a direct link. And so, not everybody likes this view because it's let's say an unbeliever's view. So you look at the mechanisms, it says, well, God is a concept and you create it in your social panorama, probably somewhere here, and you learned it from your parents and in the church, and it helps you in your life. So it functions very well for a lot of people, but it's not something that's really out there, it's something that's in here and you created it. And so this is, for instance, something that you can get across when you are looking at spirituality and the social panorama. Although I know many people who are religious people and still work with the social panorama, and I have a friend who has a very nice way of formulating that. He says that, well, in the social panorama you have real people represented in the mind, and they are found somewhere in space and you move them. And now you say that a spirit, there is no real spirit, but it looks just as a real person. So how do you know that there isn't a real spirit that is represented in the mind and that we are moving? And I think he is on a logical level, he is right, so you cannot argue that much. So, and when you believe that, you don't need to give up your religious beliefs and work with the social panorama.
Yeah, so it's the beliefs are kind of the center of our capability to change till the end.
Yeah, beliefs are. It's a matter of definition, but I prefer to see all we know as a belief. So that's in the tradition of Charles Sanders Peirce. All our knowledge is believing that something is like that. And some beliefs are more easy to believe because so when you say, well, two hands clap, so everybody can see and hear that, so we don't need to discuss that it's a clap of two hands. But when it comes to, well, how does the universe work, or how do things come about, or what's the purpose of life, And so then, of course, there's a huge choice, and nobody can point at the real physical thing behind that so easily. So there's much more space in beliefs. But on a level, you can say that when I know a person and I have a certain relationship with the person, I believe that I know this person, and so my idea about this person is a belief. And when I work with the Social Panoramei, in a way I change this belief about others and about myself too. So I may change my idea about myself with the same technology, and then I have another idea about who I am.
Yeah.
So is that what you mean?
Yeah. And which is the most spectacular area where you use social panorama?
Well, what I love most is, well, on the one side, I love the work with on the personality level with the family panorama, where it seems to be possible to change deep-rooted personality traits. So something that a person always does with other people, and they don't know how to stop it, and maybe they have no idea that it's possible to change that. But this is an area that fascinated me for a long time, and I think with the Social Panorama you have really some access to this level, and you can change people on their, let's say, social personality traits. And then, for instance, something like when a person is occupied with another person. So when we can say they are, in a way, possessed or dominated by somebody else. And this happens quite frequently. It can happen after a long during relationship, or with a parent, or with a spiritual entity, that the person is totally obeying and has the idea, I'm just controlled by something else than myself. And that's often then that they believe they're controlled by someone, so a social entity, a person or a spirit. And the Social Panorama offers also quite a clear technology how to deal with that, and that's has always been a difficult area because it happens many times. So many people know we are possession. Well, how to deal with that? It's scary. It's a nice subject for a movie. And then when you have a technology with which you can really deal with something like this, and that's very satisfying.
Yeah, this is spectacular. Let's say.
Spectacular. So
but the most efficient, let's say, what do you find after so many years of experience with your own invention? Where do you think, which do you think is the best technique in efficiency?
Yeah, well, maybe you can imagine a group where you are afraid for. And so, can you do that for a moment?
Yeah.
Is it something like that?
Ja, zeker.
And just feel the feeling of fear, because then you're doing the right thing. Now, when you have this feeling of fear, point out to me where you are aware of this group. So just so in this direction, and how far away? How many meters would you say?
2.5 meters, 3 meters.
2.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what you do now is bring this group down in your mind and bring them further away and a little bit to the side.
Okay. Yeah, it's more space.
More space. More
easier to breathe. Yeah.
So it elevates your state immediately. And something like this, I think, is very efficient. You can do it with yourself if you know. So, for instance, when you have to speak to some audience and you feel nervous, you can remember, okay, I need to bring them a little bit downwards and a little bit further away, or maybe around me. It depends on your personal needs. But that can be very efficient. And it's not always enough in difficult cases. So, because of course you have people where everything is entwined, and you need to do many things to make it work. But sometimes it's no more than something like this, and that's also very nice that it can be done.
I used to say that the NLP techniques are like the surgery of psychology, in my opinion. Talking about NLP, what do you think? Which do you think are the limits of NLP today?
The limits. So the limits in where you can use it for, or what you can do with it?
In order to see, okay, where can we grow? Where can we expand?
In what areas of the society also?
In general, how can we develop as human beings wanting to challenge the limits of NLP, let's say, using in this technology? Where is place to maximum improve?
Well, I think the limits will be somewhere when it deals with, let's say, for instance, where you are dealing with diseases, where you know the mind is influencing the sickness, and you can help the person to feel better. But on the other hand, you know, sometimes the disease is developing beyond your mental control, and this is clear an area where you see often the limits, because you cannot say I can heal all clients, all patients with cancer with NLP. So maybe you can do some, and maybe in hypnotherapy you can do some, and maybe other therapies that can do some, and then still there's always several or a huge amount of patients that are not safe that way. So there's limits. Also you can of course set goals. I want to be a billionaire, and we know that some people start off with those goals in their life and become a billionaire, but not everybody. So the limits are that although we may be able to model something, how to become rich, or a world championship, world champion in something, with NLP we cannot make everybody world champion and not everybody a billionaire. So that's for sure, but I think we can help at least improve the sport of many people with NLP, and they may become a little bit more wealthy with the help of that when they have goals alongside that.
And talking about the applications of where we can apply social panorama, and I know that in psychology as well as in therapy as well as in coaching, and because it's a big issue, kind of an issue, let's say, we have to differentiate clear these fields in general for the customers to know exactly where it needs to go. That coaching is not the same with psychotherapy or psychology, so it's different here. Then how do you see in each of these, where are best applied?
So I'm not the best person to talk about that, because I'm a bit of an anarchist, and so I think that this divisions of fields serves another purpose than, let's say, making the work best for the clients or make it fit best for the needs of the client. It's often that it stems from needs between the people who work in this field, so to protect their trade, for instance, against competition, or lawmakers, or people who are financially sponsoring psychotherapy but not coaching. Or
I love that you say this.
But I think for working with clients, it doesn't matter. And so when I have a client, I do the best I can. So, and when I need to use the social panorama, and the person comes from a business and is supposed to be coached, but I know I need to do this technique, and maybe somebody say, yeah, that's a technique for psychotherapy. I will still do it because I try to do the best I can.
About the social panorama and the organizations. Why would the employer hire a social panorama consultant for his business, for his organization?
Yeah, well, I think the same reason why he hires a coach or somebody to take care of certain conflicts or problems with the employees. So to help them to, let's say, let go of hatred for each other, or to bring them closer together, to improve relationships. So I think this is the primary reason, so to do one-to-one work with employers. And then, of course, you can also have people who use the social panorama more for improving teams. So they are probably also organizational advisors or people who are trainers and have more experience with groups. And they can use the more general views that people may have. Like, for instance, in some organizations you have a huge difference between up and down. So the work floor and the management. And this is represented in their social panorama. So when everybody in the organization says, yeah, those on top, yeah, we here. So this will be a mental construction, and so when you want to change it, so when you say, well, our organization needs to be flatter, so we need to have equal power or more equal power, then this needs to change, and it's so you can have people who are able to do that with the social panorama, or look at it from a spatial perspective.
Now, this about relationships between employees, but about the strategy. Can you apply a social panorama in order to improve or to discover new strategies for the company?
Yeah, so what do you mean with marketing strategies or production?
In general, for people to find out better ideas about how they want to be, the whole company.
Well, you can. The company by itself is also a sort of personification, as you could say. Like some people say, well, the company identity or the company soul. So the company becomes a sort of entity by itself, and so it may be represented in other people's outside of the company, their social panorama, so that they think of this is a very good bank, and so on, and they may locate it somewhere high up, and they know this is where I trust my money. So, and of course, you could influence that with your marketing, with your advertisement to help to create that.
If you have new projects, like you want to open new filials or something like this, and then I think this helps.
Well, I was once hired to do a talk to people who worked for a software house, and they are always sent to clients. So these engineers are let's say brought to another company, and they work on the other company, and they maybe stay there for a year, and they forget that they belong to the original software company, and they get more loyalty to their client than to their own business, and that can cause all kinds of problems. So in the end, they want to be hired by the client instead of belong to there where they originally belong to. And so things like this may be also influenced with the help of let's say spatial communication, so that you so my talk was aimed at that, and also the CEO, he had also a talk, and it was also aimed at that, to create stronger bonds and see their own company as closer to you than the client. I don't know whether we achieved anything along that lines, but that could be also something. So you mean something like this?
Something like this, or there are more teams working, belonging to the same companies, but working in different filials of the company, and then they have to work together in such a way that the whole moves forward. So then it's very important how they work.
So how they represent the organization.
How do they personify,
so this is, I do not much on that level, but I'm very aware that when you are in a big company, how you represent the departments and where you are located, and when, for instance, when you are in administration and you don't like production and you think they are always late, and so this relationship may lead that you see production somewhere down there as the bad guys, and this is an area where you of course can do some work, and so it can be very clear that this is the general view by many people in control or in finance, and they may have to change that because otherwise it ruins the whole business.
And from the business to the society, what about social panorama in politics?
Well, I saw examples of people who work in politics, so not that many, and they are most doing that secretly, because politicians don't want to have it in the open. Now, like you could say that Anthony Robbins is an NLP coach, was coaching Bill Clinton, and so this is, and he's very proud of that, and because it's very good for Anthony Robbins that everybody knows he was coaching the president. But most presidents, they don't want this to be in the open, and so I know that people who were trained with Social Panorama sometimes did this type of high-level coaching for politicians, because politicians are always dealing with how to move people and how to create other relationships with people, and they have enemies, and so this is all relational communication that they are involved with, and that's where the Social Panorama works on. So how do you create the image of society at large, and there's a lot in that applies to politics.
And you say, as you said, people don't want to be find out that if they are taking this consultancy. But do you think, which is your personal opinion? Do they use this technology or not at the high level in politics?
Well, I am not so sure myself, but I know rumors. So the last that I read was in an interview about a politician in Austria who people said, he's NLP trained, and that makes him effective, and it makes him also dangerous. So because let's say the magic of the opponent is always black magic. So when you are trained in NLP, this is for the good purpose. But when the other is trained in NLP, it's dangerous. And so these things. But there was some talk about that. But I don't know whether there was Social Panorama included. But it could as well be the case, because it's now pretty well known among NLP trainers. So. And it applies very much to the situation where politicians may be in.
I think would be a great benefit for everybody if they would use it.
Well, let them be genuine people.
And now I would like to ask you, how do you see NLP and how do you see your social panorama in the overall social panorama? Where are the locations?
Well, to me, the Social Panorama I see as an offshoot of NLP. I never could have developed it without NLP. But in NLP there are also inbuilt limitations. So the way it's connected to submodalities, but the way submodalities was presented has some limitations that makes the social panorama something a little bit different. But the way I see it, it's just a continuation of the same type of thinking.
Yeah, this is correct. And in the overall social panorama, in the how do you see it now, and how do you see it in the future?
Yeah, so in the field of social science and applied social science, from the beginning on, when I encountered NLP, I thought, well, this is a way of looking at psychology and at therapy that brings it in another gear. So now we can start to do something that we couldn't before, or which was very hard before. And this cannot be stopped, so I expect this to become totally mainstream. It is already mainstream in many countries. So I think in Germany, you cannot be a coach or working in this type of area of human resources or personal development without any knowledge of NLP. So I think most people will have something, or something that's maybe named different, but it's not the same.
Exactly.
And in the future, I guess that this will take over, because you don't need to think about it very long to see. This makes psychology a more useful and applicable,
fruitful,
science.
So thank you very much, Lucas, for offering me this opportunity to have an interview with you, and also to have a full 5-day training in social panorama. For bringing this to Romania, it's a brand new beginning for this here, and looking forward to meet you again.
Well, I loved your questions, so
thank you.
Really making me think, and I hope that the people that you are doing this for also
they will find it interesting and more curious to find out more, looking in the books online everywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.